Follow me to the church.
Welcome in, everybody, to From the Chamber. I'm Lisa Jones.
And I'm Cade.
Yep. And we have got a father-son duo this morning. I like to refer to them as a very regal father-son duo. We're going to learn a lot today, aren't we?
Yeah, we definitely are.
It is Barren Ryan and Donald Ryan. Ryan and Ryan, right?
That's right.
As you're known?
Yes.
Yeah, you guys play together, and we're talking about the piano.
Yes.
And you're classically trained.
Yeah.
Okay, start telling us, Donald, what is your background? And we'll know when we start to hear you speak.
Okay, that's a great cue for where am I from? A little south of Tulsa.
Yeah.
I'm from Trinidad and Tobago, West Indies. Started playing piano there when I was. I've always been interested in music, and the piano in particular, because that was what was available in our family. And I started playing around with it when I was 3 years old. Got a scholarship when I was 17 to Oral Roberts University.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
It was, looking back on it, a rather crazy thing. Nobody there had heard me play. Nobody. They just took the recommendation of a friend of the
Admittance person.
Yes, exactly, of the guy who was in charge of admissions.
Yeah.
Who had heard me play in Trinidad. So they took a chance, and I came up, and that was in 68. In 72, got my bachelor's there. I had the great fortune to study with Andrzej Wazowski, and superb, world-renowned pianist who was unbeatable on Chopin, pretty much. And he encouraged me, and prepared me for the Chopin competition, which I did in 75.
Which is a huge deal.
It's like Olympics.
Yeah.
Once every 5 years, yes, it was.
And he was the first from Trinidad.
Yes.
To be a part of that competition. Has there been anybody else from Trinidad since then?
I don't know that there has. I was the first from Trinidad and Tobago. I was the first black in the competition, and got to the second level, earned a diploma from it. Then came back to Tulsa because I was playing for the Oral Roberts Ministries at the time, doing a short stint. Came back to Tulsa, married Barren's mom, my wife. We had been dating in our college years. Went to TU and got my master's in music there. Studied with Aldo Mancinelli. Did that in 82, finished in 82. And then, one little thing leads to another, and here I am that many years later.
Yeah.
Still playing music.
You sure are. Well, tell us about what those years have been like, though. You still compete, or you did compete? I mean,
I did for about another 5 years. I also went back to Poland in 80. Didn't do as well then, but I just was not as well prepared at that time as I was in 75. But at that time, I thought I'd just concentrate on just getting better at piano and staying around practicing, doing a lot of, doing some concert work, because I had a growing family, tried to stay more around the area where I could be an active father. So I did a lot of, restaurant playing, a lot of teaching. Taught at ORU, started teaching there again, and did it for, 37 years.
Yeah.
Before I retired a couple of years ago.
Pretty remarkable.
So that was that. Doing some recordings, playing with a couple of singers. The most notable of which is Simon Estes, was a metropolitan bass baritone, world-renowned, and I did some concert work with him in Europe several times.
Donald, I think he's pretty smarty pants. Yeah.
Sounds like it.
All those degrees, all those.
Well, and I imagine being involved in any of those types of competitions, I mean, your practice regimen must have been pretty grueling for a long time there.
Yes. I was trying for 6 hours a day, getting ready for the Chopin competition in 75.
Wow.
Now, that was 6 hours of actual sitting and playing.
Yeah.
That was grueling.
Uh-huh.
It was a very good day when I could get all of that. it was mostly 5, 4.5, and 5. But even that was dedication. That was taxing.
And that's just as much mental energy as it is physical energy, because if you're playing the piano well, if you're playing the piano properly, it's not like it's hurting you, at least at that age. It's not like your hands are hurting at the end of that 5 hours, but just mentally to be running over such difficult music in the pursuit of perfecting it, which you never actually achieve, but it's...
So your family...
I find when I practice that long, it's what tires out is not my hands or my arms or the rest of my body. It's my mind that gets tired.
Well, it's a long time to focus on anything, really. I mean, anything specific, you know.
So your family was musical. Your parents, okay?
Yes, my father. I think I got my instinct from my father, who didn't have. He was one of those did not have lessons, but could play almost anything you threw at him, string guitar, saxophone, piano. I asked him, Dad, how did you ever learn to play piano? Because he was one of those, you can always tell a self-taught pianist. They play in the key of F sharp, not in C. We're so easy all on the white keys. Dad, how did you learn to play? And he said, from an encyclopedia.
Really?
Really? My mother's the one who had the lessons, and she was my first teacher. She taught me a couple of hymns, one right hand.
Uh-huh.
This was when I was about 4 years old, being a nuisance around the house. So she gravitating to the piano. I'm a preacher's kid. We lived across the alley at the back of a church, and I would gravitate towards the church. I knew which key opened the back door, so I would go there and play piano. Then when I was 5 years old, my dad got us an old piano, one of those towering uprights, which I love to this day. And
yeah, I noticed in your stuff you play an upright.
Yes, I have 2 of them. And my mother was my first teacher, and then my eldest sister took. I'm the 4th of 5 children. My eldest sister took piano lessons. My brother, he went to clarinet more so, and my middle sister, we all...
Family band.
Not so much band, but we all were involved in music, more as choirs as much as anything.
Right.
When I came here, I thought I would be, to the U.S., I thought I would come to learn to do choir music better, be a choir director or something. I just happened to, because I played well and caught on very quickly. My piano teacher was encouraging me with all of these difficult pieces that I had heard, wanted to play, but didn't see the score for it, did not have the sheet music for it, and was not around anybody who played like he did. And so it was easy to want to practice and to get that good. And so I was kind of, my career shifted, or desires shifted more so in towards executing music at the piano rather than directing choirs.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever told anybody that.
I never heard that before.
Wow, that's interesting.
We got the lead, yeah.
So for Barren, it makes sense, looking back, knowing his story, that you would learn the piano. But like, what was the moment really when you decided, or were you were probably forced into it? I would imagine, as a little kid practicing and stuff.
I was forced into practicing after I had decided to play the piano in the first place. I wasn't forced into taking piano.
Oh, okay.
Although I think probably eventually I would have had to take some sort of music lessons. But I started when I was 4 because I was already wanting to. I was already playing the key, and we had family friends who would take us to see performances, and I would see Dad in concert, and I thought, man, people stand up and clap for him, and I want people to stand up and clap for me too. And so I wanted to start. I started taking lessons officially right after my 4th birthday, and then I continued studying with Dad despite an offer to study with another piano teacher. She had a daughter who they were talking about trade, so Dad would teach her daughter, and she would teach me and my sister. And we said, no, we don't. We would rather just take with Dad. So I learned from him from age 4 to age 17 until I went to college.
Where'd you go to school?
University of Oklahoma.
Yeah. Well, and so how did you guys come along? And I mean, of course, you're around each other, but how did you decide you're going to play together?
Well, we started performing together back in my home concerts, because I would present these concerts for the family and for special guests who would come over, family members or family friends. And
Free
I would
entertainment,
set
Donald.
up.
You had free entertainment.
Mm-hmm. Well, he showed me what to do because especially he would play in churches around Tulsa, and there would be the performance, and I also knew that there weren't necessarily programs at those concerts, but I would go to other concerts and there would be programs, and then after the church concerts there would be a reception and people would have dessert, and so I set up my concerts to replicate this sort of experience. I had pens and pencils that formed the aisle on the way to the dining room chairs, which were set up in a block formation to simulate. There were 2 rows of 2 chairs for the 4 other members of my family.
Had a box seat also.
And then there was a box seat for the VIP guests. And I would always end the program with Glenn Miller's "In the Mood," because that was my favorite song by my favorite artist at the time. And if Dad were there, if he weren't working a gig at the time, then he would play on the piano and I would play the drums, because I also I started drums a little bit before piano. And so that was how we started performing together. And then when I got into high school, my school, Holland Hall, got a new piano, and they wanted us to do the inaugural concert on the piano. So that's when we first played piano together and realized, hey, we could do this some more. And then fast forward a few years, I graduated from college, and that's when we decided, shortly before that, that we would make a go of a professional relationship as a duo.
Yeah.
So what do you think, Donald? Is he pretty good?
Yeah. He's been nipping at my heels for the last 10 years.
Yeah.
The Harweldon Mansion, located in Tulsa, Oklahoma, is your choice for a luxury destination bed and breakfast. Stunning and unique, beautifully decorated suites await you for your business or leisure. Constructed in the 1920s, the historic Harweldon Mansion boasts elegant and comfortable accommodations, Egyptian cotton towels, Peacock Alley linens, and Hermes bath products. All rooms stocked with complimentary beer, wine, tea, coffee, and soda. And you'll appreciate the welcome snack and turn-down service, minutes from the world-renowned gathering place. Book your overnight stay at harweldonmansion.com. That's HARWELDEN mansion.com.
Yeah,
Well, because I was thinking about him, growing up with you as a father, and of course you taught him and stuff. But were you intimidated at all? Did you feel pressure about the fact that he was so talented, or Barren?
I tell you what I felt pressure about was his focus on getting stuff right. He's like what do they call it? A dog on a bone.
Yeah.
It just,
Doesn't let it go.
Intense. He drove us crazy. One of the things he latched on to early, and of course, like all kids, he wants to do the difficult music. But it was from the movie The Firm, the Dave Grusin, Memphis Stomp is its name. Really, really kicking tune.
Mm-hmm.
And every 10 minutes, he was on the piano when he was home. Every 10 minutes, playing that thing. It drove us crazy. I didn't say anything because I knew what he was doing. He was trying to get it right. But his intensity and his focus, that I admired, and I thought, oh man, I wish I had that.
Maybe you did when you were younger and you didn't realize it.
That's hilarious hearing you say that, because I've thinking about our dynamic and how our personalities are similar and our interests are similar, but how they're different as well. And I was thinking of that analogy. Mom and is more. I got her terrier mentality, and that's the word that I was thinking of when you say dog on a bone. A terrier gets fixated on something and then will not be satisfied until that task is accomplished. And I got that from her. Dad is more laid back, just go with the flow.
I'll get it eventually
to some
I'll keep
degree.
going, but
He's also determined, but Mom and I are. Yeah, we will go after the target for as long and as hard as it takes.
Do you guys think being in a professional relationship, do you think that's easier being family, or do you think that there's anything about that that's more challenging because you're family? Or
I think it's easy. Honestly, we know each other. I guess I've kind of inculcated my tastes into him.
Yeah.
So at least he has different tastes, but he knows what he can almost think ahead for what, because we improvise.
Yeah.
A lot, not just play what's on the page, and so he knows what I gravitate towards harmonically,
and rhythmically.
And rhythmically, yes. So
and in terms of interpretation, even when we're not improvising too.
Yeah. So there's a lot of stuff that doesn't have to be said.
Yeah. Okay.
Plus, then what he brings to the table with from his generation is often what I would. It's not something that it would be distasteful to me or foreign. I said, "Yeah, we can do this." Mm-hmm. So I think it's been a very good working relationship, and we give each other space. But at least I think I do.
Yeah, it works out great.
Yeah. We. No, very, very little conflict.
My husband, he has two sons that are drummers, and when he watches them play, he cries. I'm like, stop crying. What are you crying about? Because they just get it. I don't know. They just get it.
No,
do you have an emotional?
Starts crying.
Do you have an emotional, thing like that about Barren? I mean, has he astounded you sometimes?
Yes. I recall we were in Rockford, Illinois, and he was doing, I think it was William Bolton's Graceful Ghost. I think.
Yeah, I remember that setting. I remember that rendition too. It was in a church.
Yes, and at church, the worship services were not held there anymore. It was used more so for an arts organization. And my eyes are getting moist just recalling it, in that I had never heard him play it that beautifully. Yeah. And I told him so afterwards. It was moving. It was moving. And I will confess I'm a rather picky
Barren's shaking his
consumer.
Yeah. If he says something's excellent, that he really means it. He doesn't just toss that word around, especially with regard to music.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like when you live with someone and you don't notice how much they're growing up. There's probably so much progress he was making that you may not have even picked up on.
Yeah.
And then you have these sort of moments where you are able to realize all of a sudden, like, whoa, hang on.
Astounded.
Mm-hmm. That's cool.
Mm-hmm. So tell us about the music. What kind of music? I mean, do you guys play when you're together? And Barren?
Yeah, we're very versatile in that we're musically adept at picking up different styles, but we tend to stick with a few specific styles. We're both classically trained, so we love playing. Rachmaninoff has a wonderful 2-piano suite. But what we do most uniquely well is American piano music. George Gershwin's Rhapsody in Blue, and we have a Porgy and Bess fantasy. So it's classical music, but it has American influence in it. We play ragtime really well together, Scott Joplin in particular, and we play jazz really well, and gospel music. We have written our own gospel music arrangements. And that's what we tend to emphasize the most, because it's what most other piano duos won't be able to offer. So while most other piano, if they're a classical piano duo, everybody can play Rachmaninoff and everybody can play Mozart and that sort of thing. But to play George Gershwin as well as we do, we feel like we have a competitive advantage in that arena, and so we try to exploit that for all it's worth.
Yeah, highlight that. How old are you, Barren?
I'm 33.
Ah, okay. So you probably want to play other things though too, don't you? I mean, current music. Are you interested in that at all?
Oh, to a degree.
Yeah.
I like a lot of pop music. Most pop music I don't listen to, right, currently. And I think that there is, but I do try to infuse. So one style that I like more than Dad probably is funk music.
Oh yeah.
And I have an arrangement that I've written funk strongly into, and so if
Funk? What kind of funk? What are you talking about?
I'm talking about James Brown, Motown, which is soul and funk.
Yeah.
So the arrangement that I wrote is a Jackson 5. It's inspired by I Want You Back, but it's What a Friend We Have in Jesus.
Yeah.
And those two put together. So I can take whatever style that I would prefer to play and then take a tune that and infuse it into a different tune.
I love that.
It's so so
One
whatever
of our biggest hits in concerts.
Yeah.
Whatever style, if there's a
people love
style
that.
that I think I wish we would play more of this, well then I can just arrange something. So it's up to me. It's up to both of us. He does more of the arranging, or has done more of the arranging for the two of us. But if there's something that I would like to play, some style that I would like to play, then I can write the arrangement, and so it's up to me to do it.
So
Really
what's
cool.
that process like? Or do you write out music for him, or do you guys just work it out in person together, or?
Generally, it's written out. There's one thing that isn't, and Christmas Carol. He is born Ilene Ludwig.
You guys did a Christmas album.
We did
we
a
have
Christmas
a
EP,
yes.
so 4 tracks, and we're planning to expand
Okay.
it.
And was that one on it, Ilene? Okay. It's just in the middle. One of us is chording, and the other one is improvising, and then we shift that back and forth. So that's the only one. No, there's another one also, kind of a mashup medley of In This Very Room and Still, where we each take an entire about 32 bars. One is chording and the other one is improvising. So that is not written out. We just say improvise.
Well, I think there are two ends of the spectrum. So there's completely written out, and then there's completely improvised. And you're thinking of what we separately arrange, but we also collab on jazz tunes, on jazz standards, or on Sophisticated Lady. And I'm thinking of Christmas Time Is Here, or Linus and Lucy. We just sit together in a rehearsal and come up with the roadmap.
Yeah.
So it goes both ways. But when we talk about one of us working on an arrangement, then at least part of it is fully written out.
Yeah. So what are you guys' opinion on formal training versus like people that learn on YouTube nowadays or anything? What are the pros and cons to you of a more formal approach?
Whatever works.
Yeah.
long as you
So that's
play.
your opinion. It's just whatever gets people interested in.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would not take away what is available on YouTube. Learn it if you can. If you reach a point that you need personal instruction, then get it. I gravitate more so towards personal instruction because a good teacher can help you avoid problems.
Yeah.
That will, especially, depends on how intensely you want to play the piano. Okay, I come out of a classical tradition where, it's just a very athletic thing, very athletic.
Oh, yeah.
At that stage, at that level. So then you want to having a teacher, coach is a must, so you can avoid problems of hurting yourself, because a lot of people have, even well-known classical pianists have had just repetitive stress injuries
Yeah.
to their hands. If you're not much into that kind of athletic stuff, then you can, what you see on YouTube may get you
In trouble.
quite not so much in trouble, but it get you a good way there.
Yeah.
The thing is, if you're athletic, a lot of banging, rock and roll banging, that, that is that can present physical problems.
Pay attention to the pain,
Yes.
regardless of what you're doing,
Yes.
of who you're learning from. If you experience pain, then you need to not ignore it, because it won't go away until you figure out how to fix the underlying issue.
Yeah, and I also think that there's something, the personal instruction can be so important because there's so much information on the internet that it could be actually overwhelming to people that are trying to learn, especially because they don't really know where they need to go or exactly what they need. And someone being personally working with you can really set you more in the right direction, stuff like that,
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Just going in it, find a direction that you get excited about, and then keep going in that direction until you run into a challenge that you don't know how to surmount.
Yeah.
And maybe you need to change your search term if you realize, oh, this is what I want to learn how to do. I found a YouTube video to help me do that. Or maybe you realize I can't receive this kinesthetic learning, this learning what to do with my own body without having somebody coach me there personally, and then you find training. But I think that's to keep going in a direction that gets you excited, and then when you encounter obstacles, then you can figure out whatever you need to help you overcome that obstacle, whether it be a different video or personal training. But some of the greatest musicians in the world have been untrained, and there are plenty of very trained musicians. Nobody can hear your degree, so it doesn't really matter if you're a performer. If your goal is to perform and to move people with your art, then it doesn't matter what your training is. All that matters is what you can make that person feel in the moment. So.
I think it's that way in most professions, Anyway.
Yeah.
Today's episode is brought to you by the historic Harweldon Mansion, your choice for a luxury bed and breakfast experience, and the Church Studio, home to your favorite rock and roll t-shirt.
The Church Studio was the Abbey Road of America in the 1970s, when Rock and Roll Hall of Famer and Grammy Award-winning singer-songwriter and musician Leon Russell purchased a 100-year-old church and turned it into a recording studio and home office to Shelter Records. Now under significant renovation to bring it back to a recording studio, entertainment network, and community space. Get your church merch fixed today at thechurchstudio.com. Cool gear includes super soft t-shirts, hoodies, hats, journals, stickers, candles, and so much more. Thechurchstudio.com.
What are you guys doing currently? What's going on right now? I mean, how's COVID affecting? I mean, I'm sure it is, but
Yes.
Well, of course, it just about
cut everything off.
cut all of the live performances off. I think the only one we have done live was that since last March even is the one at the PSC at the PSC Trust did at Christmas. Mark Fry, the CEO, they put something together, and we were just part of a program. We paid three numbers. What we have done is some online concerts. He is very good at this online stuff. So I have the room on the pianos, and he has the know-how.
It works out.
And a lot of the equipment, because he does a lot on his own. And so we've done that.
We made that EP, the Christmas EP, and released that, and hopefully we'll round that out with more.
And did videos on it also.
Who was on it?
Did videos on it.
Oh, video. Video.
Those 4 songs, or at least 3 of the 4 songs. And so we're getting ready for, well, we do another video. Do we stream this one or just record it?
We're recording a video. So we've done some presenters. Instead of, the virtual concerts we've done have been our audience who we've invited them to on Facebook, and then they can contribute if they want to. And then we're also doing other presenters. We're doing one of those where another presenter asks us to do something for their audience somewhere else. So we're doing that. And then I've been working on a new project. I have an album coming out as a soloist in the next month.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
tell us about it.
It's called First of Its Kind, and it's all original compositions. There are really just 2 major works. I wrote a sonata a couple of years ago, and that has what I was frustrated by in the classical world is that I couldn't find music that incorporated the popular music of the last 50 years or so. There's jazz classical music that Gershwin wrote, and there's ragtime classical music that Bolcom wrote, and Nikolai Kapustin is also another great composer who incorporated jazz. But I wanted funk classical and country classical and pop classical, and I couldn't find that. And so I used those influences in the sonata and then in a dance suite as well. And so it's called First of Its Kind, and it's coming out on the 23rd of March. So I've been working on that. I've fundraised for it and have really been pushing to make it as big a deal as possible.
Yeah, that sounds really exciting.
Sounds really interesting.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you. Yeah.
You asked about me being astounded at something he's done.
Is that one of them?
This sonata. Yeah. Okay, that's all I'll say about it.
Yeah, no,
Keep
that's
going.
cool. That's really cool. Yeah, he wants to hear a little bit more about that.
Well, it's just, for one thing, I talk about athletic piano.
Uh-huh.
Oh, wow. He's all over the keys. And doing the right things.
Yeah.
It's almost like an orchestra or a band or something like that, compressed onto 10 fingers on 88 keys. Very, very skillfully done, skillfully written. But I was really astounded at the ability to take such a complex concept and complex, really, well, okay, I'll leave it at concept, but make it sound so logical, so inevitable.
Yeah, when you start merging,
Yes.
country and classical, and would you say funk and classical?
But that the inevitability of the song, one song, that had to go there. It couldn't go anyplace else. That kind of effect.
Is it
that
all
the music
original,
has.
Barren?
Yes.
Yes.
There are two major works: the sonata, which has 4 movements, and you mentioned the last movement. I tried to make sound like a James Brown funk tune. So there's a bass line, and there are the horns, and a guitar part, and then the melody, and that is all happening. And I think it sounds really fun.
Yeah, it does.
And then there's a dance suite, and that goes in the tradition of Bach, of so many, because classical music for a long time was popular or folk music that was just a little bit more thoroughly thought out and then written down.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to, so in the dance suite I took categories, genres that I wanted to make into a piano version. So it almost sounds like a cover song of a song on the radio you would hear, except that song on the radio doesn't exist. It's just I wrote the tune. And so there's a pop rock 80s really up-tempo kind of tune. This also has 4 movements. There's a 50s soul that has a really strong gospel vibe to it. That's the second movement. The third movement is a country waltz. And then the fourth takes inspiration from Dad's and my heritage. Trinidad, it's inspired by the steel pan competitions called Panorama. These huge 100-person steel pan orchestras, and they have these long, the 10, 15-minute arrangements. This one's only 6. That's just high energy, and it's a calypso type tune. Yeah. So yeah, I'm really excited about, and that's what I've been working on, in addition to some other videos that I've made for online. So we have tried to, whenever you encounter an obstacle, it constrains your ability, it constrains your possibilities, but it also points you in a direction, or it allows you to explore in new ways that you wouldn't have before. And so we've tried to say, okay, well, this is not what we planned on not being able to perform live, but what can we do with this experience, and how can that help our development in the future, and also signal to the people who follow us that, hey, regardless of what happens, there is a way forward. And we want to show that there's a way forward by by finding it for ourselves. And that can be an encouragement to you to do that in your own situations. And we can also provide the soundtrack for you as you do it. So that's what we've tried to do. And I think it's working out to our benefit.
Yeah, that's really cool. And Barren, I know that fairly recently, you were featured in Tulsa World.
Yes.
Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so that's something that spun off of my composition a couple of years ago. I performed that I wrote the sonata because I needed some new concert material to perform at a recital at TU. And I like to choose music that has an interesting story to tell with it. And instead of just, I need new music. What are some tunes that I like?
Yeah.
I want to know. I want a narrative arc, and I couldn't find something that I couldn't find enough music. So anyway, that's why I wrote that composition. And then Chamber Music Tulsa commissioned me to write a piece for the commemoration of the 1921 race massacre.
Oh yeah.
And I wrote it's a piano trio, so it's piano, violin, and cello. That's the classical version of a piano trio, not jazz, which is piano, bass, and drums. And the Smithsonian Magazine learned about it and featured me as one of 10 innovators to watch in 2021.
Oh, wow.
And then Tulsa World
picked up on
that and wrote a story for it as well.
Wow, that's really neat.
Smithsonian.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, you. Yeah.
Well, I love how you're using, the lack of you're not finding things you want out there, so you're making them. That's kind of your approach to making music. Which is how all the innovators think, is that they see something missing in the world, so they just create it themselves.
Right.
So that's really cool.
And they see two influences that haven't come together before. I think, well, there's no reason I can't put these together.
Yeah,
And it creates. In music, in anything, you want a sense of familiarity, but you also want to be surprised. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And when you take two categories that people already know and put them together, you automatically have both. Mm-hmm. You have, this feels familiar, but in a way that I've never experienced before. And so you're both comforted and intrigued. And I think that's the optimal place you want to be as a listener and as an artist, as a performer.
Yeah. When is your EP coming out?
So the EP was the Christmas that we did together, and that's currently
doing
available.
A full album.
I have a full album coming out March 23rd.
Okay. And what is that like? I mean, for musicians that are going to be hearing this, it's not you don't have to have a record deal.
No. Well, goodness, it can be like however you want it to be.
Yeah.
Like you can just make something and then put it out, or you can try to have more of a coordinated effort. And this leans much more strongly toward a coordinated effort, but you also are constrained by the time that you have and the resources you have to get other people to do some work for you. And so I recorded, the recording process was not too complicated because it's just a solo piano. So I recorded last summer. I've been raising money because it just takes a lot of time to put together a campaign that is compelling. And then you also need to find the right people to do graphic design and to shoot your videos and photos. And so I raised a considerable amount to allow me the time to dedicate towards that and to find the right people to do that work that I'm not able to do. And then wonderful things happen, like getting this publicity that I could not have predicted. And then that opens up doors. I was actually also featured in the San Francisco Classical Voice late last year. And that helps tremendously.
Sure.
To have a journalist who you already have a relationship with and is saying, hey, is that album coming out yet? And they're excited about it. Right. And so it's just, it's a lot to deal with, but you just have to start. And this is my third solo album to release. And so I have some know-how, but you just have to do it and hopefully start small. Ideally, just do something. That's why we released this EP instead of making it a full album, because we'd been talking about doing an album of Christmas music for years, but hadn't done it. And so I said, why don't we just do something? and then we can have
Yeah.
something, and then we can build on it.
Okay. What's the future hold? What's ahead? If somebody wants to hear Ryan and Ryan, I mean, where can they go to hear you, or tell us about your social media?
Well, they should follow our Facebook page, Ryan and Ryan Piano Duo, and we also have a YouTube channel where we publish the videos that we make. You can search for Ryan and Ryan Piano. We are currently booking for next season. Our agents are booking us concerts for next season, and we are optimistic that they will actually take place. And so people should also sign up for our email newsletter, which is available on our website. If you go to the contact page at ryanandryanmusic.com. That's all spelled out, Ryan and Ryan Music.
Okay. It's been a real pleasure, you guys.
Yeah, I think we really learned some interesting stuff
Yeah,
today.
it's been fun.
It has been for us too.
Yeah, good. So, thanks so much for being here. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
From the chamber. And that's
From
going
the
to do it
chamber.
for us. Yeah. Lisa Jones along with Cade Roberts. Thanks for joining us, everyone.